Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you're doing well. Hope you're feeling good, having a nice one out there, doing whatever you feel like doing. Today, we're listening to a little bit from Manuel de Falla. We're listening to this piece of music, El Sombrero de Tres Picos, Suites 1 and 2. This is coming off of a ballet which was premiered in 1919. We're listening to this because it was suggested. This was sponsored by Alan. Alan, thank you so much for the recommendation. Thank you so much for the request as well. We've just listened to a little bit from DeFallo with the harpsichord with that, and that was it wasn't my favorite, but it was one of those pieces of music that's like interesting and cool to listen to, almost in an educational and knowledgeable manner, but didn't quite hit me completely with harpsichord concerto. So we're going to listen to this particular piece. We're going to give it a shot. We're going to talk about it a little bit after. See if he's a good Falla after all. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That wasn't even good. Oh, it started. Okay. Let me lower it a little bit. It's a little loud. Came in a little strong. I was just full screening. I didn't know it was going to start. I could definitely hear this to a ballet. This is like a silly character comes out of nowhere. Oh, you can hear the Spanish influence there. That's adventurous. That's dashing. That's filled with adventures for like romanticism. how that little lead came through. Corregidor. Grapes. That's so playful. Oh, that's dramatic pause. Smaller. That's a Spanish style. Love how it came back to this melody. And so light as well. So cavalier. And the hits just keep coming. What an adventurous spirit in that. Part 2, The Neighbor's Dance. Segway días. It's like tiptoeing around. Something sneaky about it. I was gonna say that. I know that wasn't it. Like that finish off. I love that quick rise there. hard to catch all those hits. Gradual. Jeez, just filled with ink. Final dance. Sure. Lowest symphony they had. Oh, that's transformative. I like how that melody fit itself in between the space. And this one too. Switch a little pizzicato. It's like there's a battle between the strings and some of the instruments here. Like they cut each other off in this almost climactic way. Oh, jeez. Like a giant walking from afar. Those spaces again. We'll do it again. is like a busy intersection of notes and melody and everything. And it starts it over. Back in those spaces. Woo-wee. That was a tale. That was a story, an adventure through music. No doubt we'll have to look into the ballet to kind of gather some of the story, as we saw on the top of the sheet music there. You know, you had The Miller's Wife and Final Dance and many other titles there. But this played out, perhaps obviously, this played out like very cinematic. And what I really like is, especially in the first part, or one of the first sections, in definitely a sweet one, is you got a clear Spanish influence in the style of the music. You know, I can't exactly tell you what, you know, proper names are given to things, but the very fast-stricken chords that you would often hear in flamenco music, you have the castanets, the specific melodies just breathe the spirit of Spain. And that really is nice to have that incorporated into the music, which, you know, outside of those specific motifs and those specific flavors, it definitely moves into, you know, that kind of big soundtrack-ish kind of sound and playing with like something very colorful. The whole piece has a very adventure-filled progression to it. And it is very progressive because it doesn't stay on one idea for too long. This is not a piece of music for the lingering. This is for the ever-moving, the flowing, the progressing. This is for the forward thinkers, so to speak. And I think that that's kind of cool because I really do think it fits very well with a tale being told as it moves from scene to scene, character to character. I can't say for sure, but perhaps even certain motifs or melodies in here may reference certain characters, certain actions being taken. For example, you know, like I said, the first part, to me, it really seems like an establishing of some Spanish town, and it's bustling, it's lively, it's busy. Near the end, when we get to the climax, in the second suite, there's almost a sort of city intersection traffic kind of scenery that comes in my mind. It reminds me of Gershwin. Like it gets to that kind of point. But in between that and around that, you have some moments that, for example, there's one where it sounds like someone is sneaking around, perhaps on stage. Maybe this is a villainous character, or maybe there's some sort of betrayal or sneakiness happening, you know, in the back, some sort of espionage. I don't know. But there's something else happening where it takes a little bit of a quieter, kind of subtle tone. And then it moves into things that are more romantic, more abstract, you know, many, many different hits in here. One thing I noticed is that with a lot of the music and a lot of the hits that come in is how he fits. He starts off with a cup, and then in between the spaces, he fills in more notes. Then it goes on for another measure, and then he fills in more notes between that to kind of build to a head and to a climax within certain moments and certain meters, which I think is a really cool technique to do. Because it builds anticipation, it builds a certain stress and a tension in the music, and then it resolves it in whichever way they're going to do. And here the music did it in so many different ways. It could have resolved beautifully. It resolves harshly, and everything in between. This piece runs the gamut. This runs from point A to point Z, and it pit stops at every single letter of the alphabet in between, which I think is very cool. Like I said, this feels like a very progressive piece of music to me. Now, the pleasure part of me says I like for some of these themes and some of these ideas to be developed longer and for us to stay within that specific space longer, just because that's where my mind and where my favorability leads towards. I like to stay in one place for the most part, for a while, to build upon a theme rather than kind of jump at a moment's notice between. And the other part of me also is looking at this and saying, how do they perform to this in a ballet? Because that just seems very complicated. Let's read a little information. Perhaps we can even try and find some of the live footage of this. It says, was commissioned by Sergei Diaghilev. The ballet premiered in 1919. In addition to its Spanish setting, this ballet also employs the techniques of Spanish dance instead of classical ballet. I could absolutely see that incorporated, especially in those beginning and ending parts. Let's see. Sergei had been introduced to the Falla by Stravinsky during the company's first visit. In preparation for staging Spanish choreography, Diaghilev and Massin enlisted the services of teenage dancer Felix Fernandez Garcia, who accompanied the two men with the Falla on a tour of Spain in 17, introducing them to the dancers and performances in these many different places. And also Pablo Picasso worked separately on the choreography, set designs, costumes, music for the ballet over the subsequent months. After some delays, it eventually premiered in London in 1919. De Falla was called home to Granada at the last moment to see his dying mother. Ernest Amsermet conducted the premiere in place of him. So the critical reaction of the initial performances. I would be curious to know what those initial reactions were. Okay, here's the structure. The story of the magistrate infatuated with a miller's faithful wife, whom he attempts to seduce, derives from the novella of the same name. Falla did not prepare suites for this work, although excerpts are performed under this term. The music is in 8 main sections, split across an introduction and 2 parts or acts, with some bridging scenes. So we had part 1 and part 2, suites 1 and suites 2. Part 1, introduction, the afternoon, dance of the miller's wife, the grapes, we had that. So we had the full thing here. And then part 2, the night, the dance of the miller, dance of the corregidor, that would be the magistrate, and then the final dance. So the dance of the magistrates, that's going to be the second to last. Because I saw the corregidor come up. I'm trying to put the title with the, it was not broken down here, huh? Oh, actually, here you go. Here we go, the corregidor, right? Okay. So it comes in a different place, unless there's something I'm missing. Because here, the corregidor is the 4th in the first suite. But here it's the grapes. The corregidor is not even in here. Well, I guess it says right here, actually. But the 7th, dance of the corregidor, here is dance of the miller. Dance of the neighbors. I'm not 100% sure. Someone just started mowing the lawn. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe something's off a little bit. I don't know. Because what I was going to say is I'm curious to hear, how does the magistrate's dance sound? Right? Corregidor. I mean, it's right here. And then the grapes comes right after that. Those are some tasty grapes. So when the corregidor comes in, it is a little sneaky, right? Skip a little bit. That's like him trying to seduce, right? Like, it's very sneaky, actually. It's small, but it's sneaky. He's introducing himself. It's like he's walking on stage at that particular point. After a short fanfare, the curtain rises, revealing a mill in Andalusia. We're not reading the whole thing. The miller is trying to teach a pet blackbird to tell the time. He tells the bird to chirp twice, but instead it chirps 3 times. It's kind of funny. Magistrate, his wife, and their bodyguard pass by, taking their daily walk. Goes on from there. Okay. Throughout the ballet, Falla uses traditional Andalusian folk music, which we heard a little bit of that in the beginning, I believe. The 2 songs sung by the mezzo-soprano, we didn't hear that, are examples of canzone. which typically accompanies flamenco music and tells a sad story, perhaps a tragedy. At one point, he quotes the opening of Beethoven's Fifth. I wonder if we can find a little bit of the ballet. We're searching. We won't be able to watch much of it. I found a little bit. Let's see. Let's get this one up here. Let's see how it loads. We're going to skip around, just so you know, for copyright. Okay, we didn't have any vocals in ours. This is obviously an older performance, but I'm just curious. There's the magistrate. There you go. I love when, like, I know it's a small thing, but I like when lighting is used very effectively in performances like this. I think that's really cool, how that's used. And then I'm looking here. I was just reading something. I was reading and then I was going to say something, but then I stopped reading. Okay, that was it. That was where I was leaving it. I was just checking something. I was looking at the selected discography, but that's not relevant necessarily to our discussion. Let me know what you guys thought of it. That's relevant to our discussion in the comments down below. As always, I appreciate you all being here. Alan, thank you so much for the recommendation. Thank you for the support as well. I truly appreciate that. Please enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Thank you for being here, and I will see you all later. Bye.